Okay, the director out there says we're ready to go. So this is Sunny again. We're saddled up this time. And I was saying earlier about flexing on the ground that every exercise in Clinton's program is very linear. And the exercises are done in the way that is easiest for the horse to learn from 1 to 10. And for instance, we do hindquarters yielding before we do forequarters yielding because it's easier for a horse to do crossovers with the hindquarters than it is with their forequarters, and he separates those two exercises by a few exercises so the horse doesn't really get confused what you're trying to do. And here she is, she's teaching flexing while I'm talking. So when you're doing your groundwork, you're teaching the horse to flex by just using your thumb and forefinger like this. And as I was saying in the previous little video, you use the halter and lead rope back on the cantle, which is basically where your hip bone is going to be. Now, lots of people when they rein don't take enough rein up, or they take too much, and they end up reining their horse out here, or they rein their horse up here, or they rein behind their back, or they rein over to their belly button. And where you want to rein is reach down, and it's going to be different. Everybody has a different rein length, and they also have a different arm length. And I'm going to go right to my hip bone and pin it. I'm going to go slide right up my seam, and then the minute that she gives me that extra little ½ inch, I'm going to drop the rein like it's burning my fingers. And the reason for that is the quicker you get at your release, the faster the horse learns. So the Dorrance brothers and Ray Hunt used to say, it's all about feel, timing, and experience. Feel is how much pressure to put on your horse to get the job done, and timing is how quickly to release the pressure. And you want to release the minute that you get the result that you want. And how much pressure do you put on with feel? Just enough to get the job done. And you want to start with the lightest amount of pressure, just the lightest amount of pressure, okay? And then release. And typically in flexing, they don't start by flexing all the way to the shoulder. Like we showed in the first video, you may have to chase them around in circles for a while with your hand up on the hip bone, and to keep the head flexed all that time. But the minute that they do stop, go ahead and release it, even if they're not flexed all the way, because they have to learn in increments. Horses learn in baby steps. We don't teach them to back up by backing all the way across the round pen. We teach them to back up, maybe even just a ½ a step. So it's all about baby steps, because horses are just such incredibly honest and willing creatures, and all they want to do is please us, okay? And so if they don't think that they're succeeding with you and they're pleasing you, they get disappointed in themselves. And so if you're on an exercise like flexing that they're just not getting, some horses don't get backing for a long time. Other horses don't get flexing for a long time. Most horses don't get yielding the forequarters right away, or circle driving. But now see, she's just keeping her head flexed here, and that's a great problem to have. But you just keep after it day after day after day, asking just for a little bit more, until you get the desired job done. And then you really want to reward your horse. You really want to pet them, flex them. But here are the two times that you are going to be most vulnerable on a horse, and that's mounting and dismounting, okay? So always, I don't care if it's a horse you've been on for 20 years, that you had when you were 4 and you're now 24, or you got when you were 50 and you're now 70. I'm 71 now. I flex every horse I get on every time. And the reason for that is when a horse is flexed, and especially if it is doing a crossover, it is disengaged. That engine is disengaged. And this is why the one rein stop is so important. There we go. Because with the one rein stop, your horse's hindquarters are disengaged and the horse is flexed. So a horse that is completely flexed cannot do anything. It can't go forward. It can't get its head down to buck. It can only go in tight little circles. So when you're flexing under the saddle, you just reach down, you bring the rein up to your hip bone, drop it when the horse flexes properly. And again, they're not going to flex properly right away, but you just get a little bit more and a little bit more, and always reward them for the slightest try. With our horses, we rub the area where the whorl is on the forehead, and we rub that clockwise, and we say, "Good girl," and we say, "Good boy." And we really make a big deal out of the really harder exercises like circle driving and some of those exercises. So when you're mounting and dismounting, always yield, always flex all the way to the shoulder and dismount. Always mount completely flexed, because then your horse, if it spooks, will turn to the inside towards you instead of moving on top of you, and it will move in a circle, and it will have to flex its back legs in order to do that, which will disengage the movement of the horse. So you just can't get in trouble mounting and dismounting if you always flex. Now we mount and dismount from both sides, and we saddle and unsaddle from both sides, so that wherever you are, whatever side you need to get on, that's the side you can safely do it with. So our horses are desensitized to all of that on both sides. So that's pretty much it. When you first get in the saddle, before you go anywhere, flex your horse and loosen up its neck. And then about halfway through the riding exercises in the method, we start teaching vertical flexion, but only after your horse is super soft laterally from side to side. So say thanks, folks, Sonny. She says thanks. Bye.
GoPro, stop recording.